Hello to all my space noids, earth noids, colony dwellers, and new types. The time is finally upon us to get ourselves ready for Bandai's newest card game property, Gundam. And if you were lucky enough to get a seat at your local game store's beta release event, I'll be showing you what cards you should be looking for and what you should be doing when you go. This is my Gundam Beta event release guide, and if you want to win this, you'll play this. Firstly, we're going to go over what you can hope to learn from this guide. First, we'll talk about how a beta event is played. This is the first ever beta event, and I can't speak with total certainty on this, but I feel like this event will be one of its own kind. In the past, Bandai's Super pre-release events were the set starter decks given at random to players to play with. Gundam, however, is doing it very differently, and in all honesty, it's in a very interesting way. Next, we'll be going over cards to look out for when building your deck, or that can be played against you. Luckily for us, we have a pretty accurate list on what can be pulled for this event, despite it not being the whole set on release. And lastly, we'll be going over understanding what's in our card pool and what our gameplay environment is for this event. We also have chapters available, so feel free to skip around to what might be of more use to you, but if you are a completely new player, I'd recommend giving it a full watch. Now, disclaimer, even though I am teaching you how to win, there is no actual prize card for this event. For entering this event, you'll be given the beta kit and a commemorative promo resource card. Notably, this commemorative card is different from the commemorative card given to players who played the early beta release events in Utrecht and Florida, which was this card. So even though this will be a guide about what best choices to make when playing and what cards to look out for when building, the major thing I want to help express is to learn with your fellow players in the event and to have fun. A vast majority of you will be completely new to the game and will need to refer to your rule sheet often. So have some patience and take the time to help out your fellow players with knowledge you've learned from this video. So how is a beta event played? Well, each player will receive a beta kit containing 16 booster packs, 9 cards per pack, 1 legendary rare card, 1 card set of 56 pre-made cards, 2 rule play sheets, 6 damage dice counters, and 1 promo resource card. You'll open your packs, and using what you pull in combination with the 56 card set given to you in the kit, you'll construct a 50 card deck. Your deck must be constructed entirely using either 1 or 2 card colors. Unique cards are determined by the name of the card and set number. Example, Starter Deck 1001 Gundam and GD01 013. You will not need anything outside of the beta kit, although card sleeves will be a huge benefit. This event will play much like a sealed event where you will be building a deck with the cards given from the beta kit. Things to know about the beta release event. With the exception of few, a wide majority of players will be new. Try and take a fun and casual approach, and try to help each other understand and have fun with the game. From reported pack ratios, each pack will have a chance to pull 1 of 3 legendary cards from the kit, which will guarantee at least 1 top end card for decks you are attempting to build. There's a high probability that you are actually not able to get any cards from the 56 set pack inside any of your randomized packs, meaning some cards you'd want to run 4 of are only given as a 2 of with no additional ways to get them inside of the event. Before I get into it, I'd absolutely recommend watching the Gundam TCG tutorial video from Gundam Official to get a full understanding of the game, as I'll be referencing some in-game mechanics but won't go over it in too much depth and detail. Next, I'll quickly run through the card types, just so we know what they do. There are 4 card types: Unit, Pilot, Command, and Base. Unit cards are effectively your creature cards. Character cards, monster cards. Primary sources of damage, some of them have effects, and all of them can be buffed by pilot cards. Pilot cards can be used to attach onto a unit card to give additional abilities and buffs to the attack power or health of a unit card. In addition, some pilot cards are able to be played from hand the way main events or counter events work in One Piece. Command cards are your standard spells, sorceries, or events without the pilot ability buff, mainly and mostly your one-time use events. And lastly, base cards. Think of these as units you can play in front of your shields that act as a barrier that your opponent must punch through. They come into play, oftentimes putting a shield card directly into your hand and have their own special effects and life totals. Which is great, because in this game, when an opponent hits our shield, it goes directly into trash unless otherwise stated, and some base cards require close to 2 hits of damage that need to be dealt with to get through. Next, I'm going to be talking about our auto includes. So Bandai suggests on their play sheet a ratio of 25 to 28 unit cards, 6 to 8 pilot cards, 8 to 10 command cards, and 4 to 6 base cards. But here's what I would recommend on top of that. Units and pilot combinations that bring our units to 4 AP, or just well-statted vanilla unit cards, which is a sweet spot in terms of attacking in GCG, certain cards that create link pairings, which allow your unit to attack on the same turn it's played. Cards like Gundam RX-78 will have Amuro Ray listed on the bottom. If the pilot you link to the unit is Amuro Ray, this will give that unit any additional effects from Amuro Ray and allow you to attack in the same turn it is played. Pilots that do not meet the link requirements still add bonus effects and status buffs. You just can't attack in the same turn. The more times we can link pair than our opponent will help turn the game into our favor. Cards that are playable from levels 1 to 3. Card levels reflect how many resources are in your resource pool. By having lower level cards, you guarantee being able to play cards in your earlier turn to help advance your game state by either building board or playing commands. But don't fall for the level 1 cost 1 unit traps. These cards are the equivalent of your 1 cost 3k power vanilla characters in One Piece. Cards like Zaku 1 and Ball, for instance. The juice is just not worth the squeeze. Command cards that have action can be used during action timings. Think of this as a counter event in One Piece. Burst cards. These act as triggers from life and can either be played immediately or added to your hand, which is a huge bonus since life/shield cards are trashed upon damage in this game. And finally, your legendary rare cards, which are given to you in the kit. Assuredly, at least one of them. Depending on which card that is, between Gundam RX-7802, Gundam Wing, or Gundam Ailstrike, I'd recommend perhaps building your deck around whichever card you end up for sure pull. We're given a lot of cards in this kit, and unlike most pre-release or sealed events for Bandai games, this means we have a lot of valid ways to construct our deck. So what color combinations feel the most powerful? From first-hand accounts at Bandai Card Fest and the Creator event, green-white seems to be the most powerful color combination at the moment, with blue-white being a close second. So how do these color combinations work, and what are their overall playstyles? Well, Bandai themselves have released guides on how to get started in these color pairs, and you can find these in their rules playsheet portion on the Gundam TCG website, linked in the description. These decks work well enough. They even come with game strategies and how to play them and what you should be looking for tempo-wise. If you want to use them as a starting point for building your kits, you could get pretty far. The huge disclaimer, however, is that you might not pull the cards that are necessary. Let's review some standout cards, specifically for the beta. Green cards have a lot of powerful cards specifically for this format. Without access to 4-ofs in this event, unless they're pulled, green cards feel just a bit more impactful. When going green, try and secure second turn for your tempo, as you'll need that level that EX resource gives you for more impactful turn 1. Your cards will generally cost more, which levels out with the fact that they are just a bit more sturdy or chunky in their stats. Starting off with Zaku 2, a level 2 cost 1 that when attacking buffs our AP to 3 from 1. This card can start threatening your opponent's EX base, but it isn't very strong on the crackback. Char blazes forward with his Zaku 2, being 3 times faster than other Zaku 2s, and with a During pair when destroyed that doesn't care if the pilot paired with him is Char specifically. When this unit is destroyed, it basically brings back another Char Zaku 2 token that is a 3/1. This helps us swing onto our opponent's board, taking care of one target while being able to still maintain a board size on our end. When link paired with this Fujoshi Heartthrob, Char gives his Zaku 2 on attack. During this turn, this unit gets +1 AP, and if it's a link pair, if it isn't, then this ability doesn't trigger, then this unit gains high maneuver, meaning it's an unblockable rusher that can swing 5 and crack a base card. Note that giving a unit high maneuver only works if it's a link pair with this pilot. Gundam Sandrock comes in pretty late, but when it does, you can play a Maganac Core unit card from your hand, which is a pretty good vanilla card early and a pretty good multiplay late. So why not? Now let's take a look at the breach mechanic. Breach allows us to deal a specified amount of breach damage, often followed by a number after the keyword, into our opponent's base/shield when we destroy an opponent's unit. If there is a base, deal the specified breach damage. If there is no base, deal specified damage to first shield. So if your Rick Dom with breach 2 destroys a unit, we deal 2 damage to the opponent's base, or 2 damage to the first shield in your opponent's shield area. Which is why we're including basically every card in green that has breach, which in the beta kit is like 4 cards. Titular Wing Gundam is one of the most powerful cards printed in the game thus revealed. With Breach 5, this unit is also passively able to choose active enemy units level 4 or lower as its attack target. Talk about a buster beam rifle. Hero definitely did blow up a colony with that, so it makes sense. Speaking of Hero, his pilot card allows us to boost a unit to a +3/+1, which is just raw stats. while Wu Fei has a pilot effect that allows us to protect our breach units from enemy damage from units with 3 or less AP. Notably, these pilots don't come online until our mid-game, but that's where our resource ramp cards come in. First Contact allows us to ramp for an extra resource, which would automatically jump us to level 4 once played. The trade-off is that we'll only have one available resource, of course, but it puts all of our wing pilots within playable range. Defensively, we also have access to Peaceful Timber, which allows us to prevent any damage from enemy units 4 or lower into our shield area cards, which buys us some time tempo-wise. Or maybe we play Citizens Take a Stand, to swing the tempo in the other direction by giving all of our units AP +2. Wing Gundam Bird Mode is also a great ramp card that comes in the form of a unit body. And for base cards, Falmel is an excellent base card that deploys a Rested Charzaku 2 token after we take a shield into our hands, providing a pseudo blocker for our opponent to deal with that also will smack them for 3. And heading into our blue cards, you'll want to focus on cards that promote link pair. Pilot pairing with good onboard units like Rizel or Gun Cannon, a lot of units in blue have a link pair option that doesn't search for specific pilots, and instead have a link pair with Earth Federation / white based team, meaning any pilot with those traits that pairs with those units will be able to gain effectively rush and attack on that turn. Cards I would consider as a standout card for good blue foundations are Gun Cannon. When we pair with this unit, we'll be able to rest an enemy unit with 2 or less HP. Swing into it the turn it's played, then let our Repair 1 ability recover 1 HP at the end of our turn, helping us to control and take down their units in play, while not worrying about an easy crackback into our unit. Gun Tank is an insanely cheap unit that doesn't need a pilot for its immediate value. When deployed, we may choose a rested enemy unit and ping it for 1 damage. If we pair a white base team pilot onto it, we can then rush in and finish the job. G-Fighter is also an insanely useful card. When deployed, we can choose one of our white base team units, it can even target itself, and give it high maneuver, making it unblockable. It could come in for a clutch base break or game end. Grandpa Gundam comes to us as our legendary rare, and with Repair 2 and a +1 AP buff to all of our units on the field on our turn, this sticky body boasts great firepower on the offense and respectable attack stats on the defense. It is a legendary rare, however, so we might only get one. Gundam MMA form, though we're only able to play this in the later levels, gives us a card when we pair with a white-based team pilot, but has a specific link pair only to Amuro. Any form of card draw in this game is very good, so we'll take it along. I mentioned a bunch of units, now it's time for some pilots. Amuro Ray is one of the best pilots in blue, with a pair effect that chooses one enemy unit with 5 or less HP and resting it. We can use our newly paired unit to swing over a blocker or swing into the large unit threat on the board. Thoroughly Damaged / Hayato Kobayashi serve as our first command pilot type card mentioned. With an effect that lets us ping 1 damage onto a rested unit, he's essentially his gun tank without the unit body on board. He has a modest pilot pair stat buff, but giving our units rush is definitely worth it. Banagher is probably worth mentioning as well, but more so for his stat line buffs. He won't be able to link pair with most of the units, but with a +2 to AP and HP, he's worth slapping onto a unit just in case you need to get over a certain HP threshold on board. Just bear in mind you won't be able to rush with him when you do, so it's probably best to hold his equip a turn after a unit is played, so it could swing when he attaches. I think of this as probably attaching 2-Don and passing your turn, except that 2-Don stays there forever. And of our base cards in blue, we play white base. When we play this card, we bring a shield into our hand, and at the start of our main phase, once per turn, we may pay 2 resources to deploy a 3/3 Gundam token if we have 0 units in play, a 2/2 Gun Cannon token if we have 1 unit in play, or a 1/1 Gun Tank token if we have 2 units or more in play. Really fun thematic card as it mirrors the sorting order of the white base team in the original show. Also an extremely powerful card that lets us create bodies on board so long as our opponent doesn't destroy this base. It's also worth noting, tokens can have pilots to equip onto them, but they don't get link pair effects. Just keep that in mind. And last but not least, a Show of Resolve. Absolutely one of the standout cards in this game, as I'm hearing a lot of chatter about how this game sometimes turns into a top deck slugfest. So a Show of Resolve allows us to draw 2, and I shouldn't have to elaborate further on why that is a great card. Run as many copies as you can.
I love divination!
As for the white cards that we'll be using for each deck, white generally is our flex color that we can use to spill into either blue or green, depending on what flex cards we'd like to use. A wide majority of blockers exist in white: bounce to hand effects, filter effects, and enemy debuff effects. Most notable blocker cards are Demi Trainer, which is your average 1 cost 1 chump blocker, Perfect Strike Gundam, which on deploy can also bounce an enemy unit with 1 HP to its owner's hand, Launcher Strike Gundam, mid-level blocker, Ale Strike Gundam that when paired with a level 4 or higher pilot, bounces a 4 HP or less enemy unit back to hand, and M1 Astray, who is an AP plus 1 blocker, so long as there's another triple ship alliance type on the field with it. White also carries one of my favorite command tools in the game, the Witch and the Bride, which is a main/action choose one enemy unit with 5 or less, and bounce, with a burst effect that allows you to activate its main effect. This card notably hits every unit in the kit so far except for Wing Gundam Breach 5. Kira Yamato has been touted as the best pilot in the game by many others, and I have to agree. With a pilot ability that, when attacking -2 APs an opponent's unit, we can swing and trade easier into our opponent's rested board with little to no crackback. And finally, the 2 bases of white. Archangel allows us to put a shield into our hand, and once per turn on activate main, we may pay 2 resources to set a blocker back up as active. While Earth House lets us add a shield to our hand, activate main, rest this base to give all friendly Link units AP plus 1 during this turn. So in blue, I'd probably run Earth House, while in green, Archangel seems a bit more useful, allowing my blocker units to play defense for my more powerful breach units. And that is it for my Gundam Beta kit event guide, and I really do want to stress the fact that this is a fun event. We're trying to learn this new game, and just don't be too hard on yourself or your opponent if you guys end up fumbling through the rules. And if you have any questions on certain cards, how this game is played, or if you find cards I didn't list deserve more spotlight, please feel free to post in the comments below. This is a new space for us, so definitely stay tuned. And remember, victory is never decided by mobile suit performance alone, nor by the skill of the pilot alone. The result itself is the only truth.